Welcome to this episode of Talking Indies in My Undies. My name is Jacob, and I'll be your host. The days of being a musician who goes into a studio or just performs live, I think are pretty much done, unless you're like Bono or some shit. If you're an aspiring musician, making the music is simply not enough. As a result of this oversaturation of music on the internet, you've got to find a way to separate your silly band name from everyone else's silly band name and try to garner a fan base on your own, because it's only you who's promoting it. So now you have to learn to play the guitar, but you also have to learn to send your music to different websites or to find interesting ways to promote to your fans. I keep up with local music in my town pretty closely, and I guess around 2009 or so, I stumbled across this band called the Enigmatic Foe, and I was blown away for a couple reasons. Number one, I thought the music was very, very good. I also noticed how much music there was. This guy had like 2 full-length albums and like 6 EPs, which are like 5-song little mini records, you know. So I mean, just has this huge library of music, and the songs were very, very good. But I also noticed he had like 3 fans or something. He had, like, no one knew about it. No one cared. I was really surprised by that because the music was so good. A couple years later, I wanted to use one of his songs in a short film I was doing, so I email him. So it turns out this band, the Enigmatic Foe, is just this guy named Jared Colinger. So I invited him to come hang out. We sat down. We talked about who he is as a musician and try to get to know him as a person a little bit. But then also we discuss important things that Jared would say, learn from my mistakes about promotion, particularly. Jared is a very humble guy. He's not good at that promotion stuff. If checking out Jared performing live is something that you'd be interested in, this week would be a great opportunity to do it. He's playing with his band, the Enigmatic Foe, tomorrow, April 2nd, at the Square Room Showcase, which is an event for Knoxville Music Warehouse. It's a website that tries to, compile local music, and they're doing the fishing for you, so it's a cool group. The Enigmatic Foe is playing with 2 other bands, one called Stereo Radio and another one called Maps Need Reading. Now, Stereo Radio, the producer of their record, sent me 2 songs a few months ago, and they're awesome. Like, the music is unbelievably catchy, very, very cool. I shot Maps Need Reading a couple times doing live performance videos. The band is really, really great too. So this is an incredible little lineup of and just amazing local talent. So the Enigmatic Foe with Stereo Radio and Maps Need Reading. That's happening tomorrow at the Square Room at 8 p.m. If you miss him tomorrow, luckily he will be at the Birdhouse on Thursday, April 3rd. And the Birdhouse seems like a cool situation. I've never been over there yet, but it's just like this house downtown that bands play at, and then they have movies, and it seems like a very community building situation over there at the old Birdhouse. So anyways, I think that would be a cool opportunity to check out that venue and to see Jared do his thing again with the Enigmatic Foe. Without further ado, here's Jared Colinger on Talking Indies in My Undies. When you did go perform, what were those first shows like?
Oh, I was a lot more ballsy.
Yeah, what does that mean?
That was at the time. I didn't care. I could lead an audience. The audience was at my command. I controlled it, and I guess I was a lot more courageous in that. I was inspired by musicians like Glenn Tilbrook, who when he was in the band called Squeeze, 1970s, 80s, and 90s band. And he played some solo shows. And, one guy on an acoustic guitar. And he was able to get off the stage like a traveling minstrel, like a troubadour. Have the audience follow him outside, walk down the street singing along with him, and then loop back and get back into the theater. I always thought that was such a unique way of taking the audience with you. And so that mentality stuck with me. I'm like, okay, the audience is mine. They're in my command, as it were. Then as I started writing more songs that were a lot more introspective, more heartbreak, guilt, regret, things like that, I started getting a lot more self conscious about performing these songs because they were so personal. So I got less brave on stage in live performances.
Right. Well, I'm guessing when you were performing, you're in your prime of your ballsy days, right? You're raising hell.
I had three.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, what does that look like? What are you doing? Are you just being a bit more of a showman, a bit more showy? And
Yeah.
yeah,
And I guess it was more confidence in the delivery and talking to the audience.
was the audience responsive to your music back then?
I'd say so. Yeah. I mean, it back then it was more let's have a good time. Um, I would cover a lot more songs. And then I started, playing more of my material and just got a little too self conscious for my own good. But slowly but surely, and honestly, with your help, I am just owning the experience of this is what it is, and just
That like, and on those early days, were you doing home recordings at that time, or was it more going to the studios and that sort of thing?
oh yeah. So we all well, I started with just a basic cassette recorder, just turn it on and sing and play the guitar at the same time. Slowly started trying to do overdubs. Like I would play something and try to do a bass line over it. And this was all just a regular tape recorder. Then I went to an 8-track and did some stuff. Then I migrated into doing recording on a computer because you could do multi-tracking a lot easier. So sky's the limit. Um, then it got to a point where I could not top what I had done. So I knew that I needed to get into a professional studio. And at the time, I was being managed and hit a bit of a rut. And he recommended that I reach out to one of my musical idols, Frank Lenz, who is the drummer for a band I just thoroughly love called Starflyer 59. And Frank agreed to produce Favorite Hallucination, the EP. And I flew out to Huntington Beach, California for about 2 weeks. Hung out there, absolutely gorgeous, but it was nerve wracking because you're working with your idol. I still remember it was such a creative way to record, and Frank used these strange methods of getting sounds. Like he would for the song "Cinnamon and Cigarettes." He's like, okay, we're going to run your vocal into the bathroom. We're going to put the microphone in the bathroom because it's got this natural reverb bouncing off the tile. Then we're going to run it through a boom box. He called it a ghetto blaster. And so it got a little bit more distortion coming out of that. So we multi-tracked it all these different ways, and it was the strangest natural sound I had ever thought. I mean, it was the most creative way I'd ever, recorded music.
Well, that's what I thought about that first demo. It was much more organic sounding than the later releases.
Never done anything like it, and starting to get back into doing that with like strings and piano and things like that. But yeah, that first one was a unique recording experience for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, working with your idols, I can only imagine, man. That has to be kind of freaky. But yet you're in this beautiful place. You're in California, man.
Yeah, and I got validated. Because Frank dug X. He just attacked them and made them sound as best as they could and improve upon.
That's fascinating, man. People have such different approaches, and once that's the thing. There's not one right way to do anything, and so when you get these kind of nutter guys, it doesn't matter how you do it. It just what matters is what you recorded one record and an EP rather that that was recorded at your house, right? And that you didn't have a producer.
I had these songs in me, and I couldn't really afford to go out and have them, recorded, professionally. So I initially did them as demos, and I still consider them as demos, but I think the production on them is pretty decent from, what
And I can get, man, I didn't know that there was a difference. Someone, you going to the studio and recording your album Black, and then being at home and recording this Ava EP. They sound the same to me, but I'm not really that smart when it comes to that stuff. But it sounded great to me, dude.
I'm my own worst enemy, and I'm my own worst critic.
Yeah, I'm
And
a
this
big fan.
and the song Genesis is it is kind of bleak, but there's that silver lining of talking about it's finally meeting somebody that will accept you and be there for you forever. But you're remembering how it all began, and you're absolutely going to pieces mentally, and all the self-loathing.
Yeah, that seems to be a theme that you like, right?
Oh, I love self-loathing.
Yeah, man. Oh well, I mean, I think people like songs about heartache, and they like songs that are introspective, the way that you write them.
But I don't think people really like to feel. Like let's go to this rock show because they want to feel a certain emotion. They don't want to necessarily feel their own emotion or deal with some sort of internal issue.
Sure.
They're going there to like forget about life for a while. Fist pump.
Right.
And have I think about those types of shows, what we do, and that's when I get a little self-conscious, and I'm slowly but surely, thanks to your prompting, just owning it. Like, it doesn't matter if that's how it is. That is how it is. It doesn't matter, and this is the environment that's created. So it's up to the audience to choose whether they want to hop on board and still listen or
solo shows. Now you've got the band together, so you're doing a live band show, which is great. But before that, I just thought it was so cool. Okay, so you would go to these venues, and it would just be you, a guitar, and your phone, right?
Or an iPad. No, I'm sorry, an iPhone. So yeah, I noticed this back when I was touring West Coast, that a lot of like electronic musicians would have their multi-tracks. They would have, actual, gear up there with all the tracks that they had done. Going through the sound system, they would have their main instrument where they could do, chords or riffs, and then they would sing. I thought, well, I can't afford whatever gear that they've got, but I can put these backing tracks on my phone or iPod and run it through the sound system. And yeah, slowly but surely, I began to realize this is like glorified karaoke. So I can't, all I could do is maybe sing better or maybe play better because I've already got these tracks. I'm either strumming a rhythm guitar to it. It's already got maybe some lead guitar in it and a bass and a beat. All I'm doing is just singing on top of it and providing rhythm guitar. It's karaoke, really.
Well, I think that's definitely one way to look at it. I think another way to look at it would be that you are a singer-songwriter of 2014. I mean, you've got bigger sounds in your mind than a guitar, can provide. So you need these other tracks. And then actually, if you stop and think about it, man, when you're performing, the sound, I mean, yes, when you go see a band play and you've got all the people there and they're performing, there's a certain energy that comes from that. But if you just closed your eyes and you're at a show and you've got this band that everybody's playing an instrument and you hear the sound and it's loud, it's big, it's in your face, it's there, you're basically recreating that sound to an extent, just using these backing tracks. And
yeah,
so you're giving this audience a bigger experience. They're getting a bigger wall of sound that you've designed yourself. And and yes, it is a little like karaoke. You make a good point.
yeah.
But if you had 100 arms, oh shit, you could. fucking hit that thing. Oh, okay, Kitty. Yeah, if you had 100 arms, you could play all those instruments, but
I would totally clone myself if I could, you know?
true. But now you have this new band, and you guys are playing live shows together. How's that going so far?
It's truly fantastic. I mean, a couple of years ago, back in 2008, when I moved back to Knoxville, um, found some people initially locally, like a drummer, bass player, and uh, extra guitarist. That was the first time I'd ever had a band for me. Just they were playing my stuff. Huge learning experience, a lot of trial and error, a lot of it my fault because poor communication. Because I didn't want to be, a little Hitler about, I want you to play this at this time, and I want it to sound like this. I didn't want it to be like that. I wanted to give them, creative license, to get them down, and then make them sound better, do what they wanted to do. Over time, as it just tends to be with any sort of art, the more cooks you have in the kitchen, it deviates. And it got beyond me. I didn't think it was sounding like me. So kind of called it quits there. Started doing some more solo shows to get back into the swing of things. And now I've got, new people, and it truly sounds awesome because they are extremely, talented and disciplined individuals. They get what I'm doing, and they want to make it sound good, and they make it sound even better. So I'm excited about playing live, for the first time in a very long time. Uh, what made me sad was the other night, the fact that the Long Branch ended up canceling that show for Laurel and myself because playing those songs, just piano and acoustic guitar,
Man.
it sounded so good, and it makes the melody and the lyrics just blend in such a way. And I really wanted to play that show so bad.
And so what's up with that? Why did they decide to cancel it?
Well, we weren't the ones that booked it, not, we'll see, but it was a touring band
Sure.
who contacted me through another gentleman in Nashville who said, hey, they're going to be in Knoxville at this time. They want to play. Will you play? Like, sure. Do we need to find a venue? Like, no, it's going to be at the Long Branch. It is already booked. You just show up. And it's like, okay, great. Fantastic.
Right.
So, show up, and there's no show tonight. It's not on the calendar. Nothing. So, I wasn't surprised because of just previous experiences at that venue.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second. What's up with that, man? No, for real. I mean, it seems like such a cool place. It's such a historic place. It's been there on the Strip. Really, really good. And so what's this decline? What's going on here? Why are people having bad experiences?
I don't know. I don't know if it's some bands get frustrated with lack of promotion, and a lot of that, in all honesty, falls back on the bands. If the bands don't promote the show, your audience is not going to be there, and the Long Branch, is going to be operating at a loss. So a lot of it is the band's fault for not promoting shows. Retroactively, I don't know if it's the location. I mean, it's on the Strip. It's in a good location. They really need somebody that's going to be running sound and make things sound good. They've just got two big monitors, and that's it. That's it.
Right.
So no floor monitors. No. There's a lot of nitpicky things that could benefit them. But I don't know if they just need somebody that's going to be in charge of booking specifically and promotion, or I don't know what they need. I mean, we've played Long Branch several times in the past, and we've had some good shows, very good experiences. But and but the bad shows seem to trump the good ones more often than not at that venue.
That's a shame,
It's got a
man.
lot of potential. It really does.
Well, maybe it's just that it's so cold outside, but because one of the coolest things about that place is that you can stand out on the balcony and hang out.
It's
You
a
know,
cool balcony.
oh, it's really cool, man. You can see the strip, and
It's
you're
got the lights.
yeah, yeah. And so maybe it's just that it's so cold outside, but it just seems like not as many people are interested in going and seeing live music. Am I wrong about that? Because I'll be the first one to admit I am extremely out of touch when it comes to going out. You know,
Same here, man.
but have you kind of gotten that vibe a little bit? Maybe I'm just not in those circles, so I'm not seeing it as clearly.
I think if you're going to see live music, there are certain places that you would go to do such, like obviously Tennessee Theater, the
Sure.
Bijou, um, Pilot Light, Barley's, Preservation Pub. Those tend to be. It tends to stop there. Well, you've got Envy, the Bowery.
Sure.
You know, so
Sure.
you've got some of those touring, um, and that seems to be it. You got places like the Well that are getting back up there, but most of the places on the Strip are, even though they do have live music. I think Tin Roof is a place.
Sure,
I've
yeah.
never played there, but
You would never play there.
I wouldn't.
No, fuck no. You're not a Dave Matthews Band cover band.
Ah, is that what they play
Oh
there?
my god. No, yeah, you don't want to play there. You're cool, man. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad time. All I'm saying is that people like to dance and people want to dance to music that they know, so they'll get these tribute bands or whatever cover bands to come in and my point is that you're
There, it's true. A lot of people don't tend to go out to listen to live music to discover new bands. They want to just, it's either background music or it's at a club done by a DJ or something like that. So, yeah, I don't know if it's the mentality. Do you find that with like films, like with showing films at like say downtown West or things of that nature?
well, my experience with the film festivals, not to be confused with the film competitions, but just like a festival where they're showing independent movies, they're showing stuff that you've never heard of that's
Right,
from
right.
all around the country. Um, I'd say that there isn't a huge audience for that. I would say that there are certainly groups of people who are interested in that sort of thing because I mean they have like the Knoxville Film Festival. And I mean they get people to come, but it's not really a I mean they're doing well, but they're not selling out. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It doesn't seem to be as high of a priority. I don't know if that's a result of like fucking hanging out on YouTube all day and like, you know, like why would I go see you play live? I can watch you on YouTube. You know, I don't know if it's
Yeah.
that sort of thing or they just don't know. I think that's what it is that people just don't know you and don't know a lot of these bands. It's almost like there's so many that you're floating around in this weird ocean of music that's potentially good, but you don't have anyone there to explain to you that this is good and this is not good. Because a lot of people just don't know. It's just music, you know.
Yeah. It's a lot of self-discovery. And you've got things like, Pandora Radio and Spotify that'll make recommendations to you. Like if you listen to this band, you'll probably like this band. And I've come across a lot of like artists that I like that way because it's been recommended to me. Um, but I think people are smart enough to know what they like. I don't know how aggressive people are in like going out and finding new. Like if I would be writing some lyrics or songs and I would get into a rut, I knew at that point I got to go down to Best Buy or Circuit City and buy some music, start listening to something new. To get, I know there's tons of great music out there, and it's almost overwhelming at the sheer amount of music that is out there. I mean, gotten increasingly easier for people to make music, home recording, 4 tracks, 8 tracks, just garage band. It's very easy to do music nowadays, and it can be oversaturated.
You have to spend most of your time promoting then. The music is just, the music, but now we have to really make it work in any real way. You have to spend all your time promoting, and that's the problem with oversaturation. Saying about that?
Oh, I'm talking about like PR. Like you got, some really great bands, but unless you've got some sort of public relations or word of mouth, something good to, stoke the fire, you're going to remain unknown. And that has essentially been my bane of, and while in the back of my mind, I think the songs will speak for themselves. The playing, the lyrics, I mean, this is all that is required. That's what's in the back of my mind, and I fully get that you've got to invest time and energy into promotions, into networking, into sending CDs to radio stations, online radio, magazines, reviews. I mean, there's a lot involved, and it is exhausting. Um, but then I also like justify in my twisted mind that if I don't do this and remain somewhat unknown, it kind of adds to the mystery of like, who is this band? And because it's the enigmatic foe, you know, it, I guess in my mind, it kind of completes the picture. And like this band gets up on stage, plays a freaking awesome show, gets off. Who was that? Like they leave.
Well, in an era of social media and all this sort of shit where our privacy is constantly just, it's gone, because you're telling people on Facebook about who you are constantly and shit. I think something like that is a fascinating idea.
It was recommended to me by like a PR professional. Like there was like a consultation that was given to me couple years ago. Like this is what you need to do. Your internet presence is everything. You need to like, whether daily, put something funny up on like your Facebook or whatever social networking site you're at, whether it's a funny picture, to get more people to like it, and they may be more likely to share whatever that funny picture or quote, whatever it is.
Right.
Make it more viral, get more people involved. So I did experiment with that for a time, like last year, and definitely did see some return on that. I did. I get it. Um, but it's still taxing to just do that every day. What is that cat doing? Something with the Muppets or Sesame Street. I don't know.
Right.
Something like a meme. And I'm like, even that is not me to like put up a bunch of memes.
Right.
But I got what he was trying to say, and I definitely understand the benefit of it. But yeah, your internet presence in this day and age is almost everything.
Oh man. I mean, it's kind of true. When I think about it, I can totally see it. But that is just a really weird state of affairs in 2014, man.
True. Now think about it in your line of work. What would you do for post retro? How your online presence for post retro? I mean, if you think about that for a second, and the content, and if you were garnering some sort of community involvement for that, what content would go up? I mean, there's it for me. I may talk about, hey, I've got an upcoming show, or hey, had a really great practice, or working on a new song. Here's a demo. That's the bulk of whatever posts I would put up.
Sure.
And yeah, I could try to fish for some sort of community effort of what's your favorite enigmatic faux song, or what's your favorite album or recording, but at this stage in the game, it's talking to a brick wall. I'm not discounting the people that like, the Facebook page for the enigmatic foe, but it's still in such an unknown status that it would be little return on, on that. I think even at the Reverb Nation site, there's a little box down at the bottom right of the page that says, "Hey, ask the foe any question."
How many of those have you gotten?
0.
Goose egg. Well, yeah. Yeah, I don't think I can do that. If I was, on my post retro page, right? That thing. I mean, I put stuff up when I make something, but I'm certainly not going to start making cat videos just so I have some bullshit to put on there every single day. So the piece for that, but there has to be that fine line when you're promoting something online with your online presence that you've garnered, right?
Right.
I feel like you need to be honest in that and not try to you're not, because what you're doing is you're manipulating people. If you don't have anything to say, but you know that you have to say something today, you're manipulating me. That's what you're doing. You're putting something up there even though you don't really care, in hopes that I will read it, in hopes that you will train me to watch your shit every fucking time that you put something up. And that's kind of weird and gross. That means that you care more about getting famous or having people acknowledge you than you do about the people who already do it. A weird thing. So you got to walk this fine line of honesty. Yeah. But if someone sees a video and sees post retro at the end of the video, right, like a live band play or something,
sure,
then they can just look that up in their search engine on Facebook, and that site will come up. So
gotcha.
So it serves its function. What about yours? What do you do with it besides post memes?
I'm not. I think the last time I posted some sort of funny picture, it was Fozzie Bear in a cowboy suit, holding a rubber chicken. It was the Walk of Walking Dead.
That's not too bad, right?
Yeah, it was a good picture. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, in the past I had them, and some of them looked really cool, but it was never me updating.
Sure.
But I couldn't change things. I could send the designer, all right, here's some text, here's some copy, for this show or whatever. And that would be it. So right. I couldn't change things. And well,
I know they've made it super easy now. You can go to places like Squarespace or something, right? And you can
I need to look into that. I've seen things, and I want to look into that. I used to have a more aggressive mailing list where I would have, it was a mailer form that I would update, and I'm not even sure if I still have those anymore, but I would do a Q&A. I would do a Q&A. Mm-hmm. But it was me asking or answering the questions like, "Oh, well, I'm glad you asked this."
Wait, so it was you asking the questions and answering them?
Yep.
That's so honest. And
asking. People don't ask questions. So I would tell stories like, this is the inspiration behind this song, or this is what it was like recording this album or track or whatever.
Right.
Because at that time I was fishing for not information, but content to give, people, to make it interesting. So I suppose in that, to tie it all together, back then I would do those things. It would not be memes to get people involved. It would be to have that content that people would come back and see the information.
Right. So let's just be real. Facebook fucked up everything. Let's just be real. That's what happened, right?
I would totally get rid of it if it wasn't one of the only means of communication with certain,
this sort of thing. But just the way things are set up on Facebook, it's so fast. You put in a status and someone has, let's say, 500 friends, right?
Yeah.
That's just gone in 2 minutes. How far down are you? There is no, people think that when they're speaking on Facebook, when they're typing a status, that they're holding a bullhorn, right? And you're on a stage and there's a crowd of people and you are announcing what's going on because it's in your little status and you say send and right. Everyone is attentive and listening. The reality is that you are standing on one of many stages amongst one of many bullhorns and everyone is screaming, and there comes a point in time when that all just simply becomes noise. And so that is the reason why you have to update your stupid music page every day. You have to put a status out of a silly cat, right? Every single day to keep that online presence so that you can maintain.
Less is more. I think those people that don't tend to update statuses or post a lot of things when they do, that's when people would pay attention because, hey, that guy never posts, or that man rarely posts. Uh, but they are.
Right.
I got to see what they said because they rarely do it. So in my mind, I think the less is more approach is the more effective. But you have the other, school of thought of you've got to maintain, an internet presence at all time
Right.
to get people involved, and it's just a different school of thought.
Because if everyone just sat down and said, "Hey, we're all going to agree. We're gonna post one status a week. You can pick any time you want to do it, but you got to post it one week." God, the internet would be beautiful. You only had one thing that you could say a week, only one thing. So you better make it good. And that goes for people, that goes for bands, that goes for everybody. That would be beautiful.
I'd like to put that as a challenge to whoever listens to this. If you use Facebook, challenge yourself and your friends to greatly filter your content.
It's a good start, but the thing is that most people won't do that. But
No.
what we can do is we can say you can comment on any and as many other posts as you want to, but you can only post one original status a week.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think that would bring people together like in no time at all, because now all of a sudden not everyone is being so self-absorbed about, they just want to communicate with other people because that's what they really want to do. They just want to talk to people, right? But the way that we do that is that we use we grew up before social networking.
Oh yeah.
And we've been here at the beginning of social networking. But it also is a pretty clear statement on where we are as people. And I come across very condescending when I say that, as if I'm somehow above it, and I'm not.
Right.
I'm just saying that if I'm gonna say, fuck you, cocksucker, I hope I come up with a better way of saying it, and I hope I spell it correctly.
Yeah, like with a PH. And maybe a K in there.
The difference between YouTube and real life is that when you're on YouTube, you can talk all sorts of crazy shit. But when you're at a film festival, right? People are nice as hell. People are super nice.
You're talking about in person.
In person, of course. Yeah, when you're looking at someone in the eyes, it's really hard to say the same things that you would say on YouTube. I'd say it would be one, someone will punch you in the, oh, you've actually helped me on a couple things, which is really cool, man.
Yeah.
That was always kind of in the back of my mind as a dream of mine, that if you could get in with these local musicians and help them out by maybe making music videos or something like that, they could help you out by letting them use your music in one of the films, or maybe even do original score. And you, sir, have done both for me, which is a cool thing,
Yeah, and what comes to mind right now is it's been, what is it? It's been 2 years, or is it just 1 year?
I think we did the first one together in 2012.
It's been 2 years.
Whenever that was.
Yeah, it's been 2 years. So what's on my mind right now is, within those 2 years, have you found any other local filmmaker that does what you do? Or because I've not seen anybody else use a local musician in that way, except you. Am I wrong in saying that? Or
I can't speak for everybody. I know that Laurel did some score stuff on Luke's film. I remember she did,
yeah.
But I mean, that's your sister.
Yeah.
There may be cases of that, but I think for the most part, not really. And so I think that's what a really unique thing that we do.
It still doesn't seem to be a focus for a lot of filmmakers, from what I'm seeing. I mean, they're more thinking of the visual package and all of that. They're not thinking of sound design, and that is just a missed opportunity, I think, on their parts. And you're way ahead of the game in that. Not to toot my own horn, because it's trial and error for me, but I think the fact that you are going at it from that direction and the angle and incorporating those bits is just
Well, the first thing that I ever learned about filmmaking, the only thing, and this was back in the pre-YouTube days, I found this guy. He had a film called Shades of Grey. He was some kid out of LA. He was in his 20s and he made a feature film with no money. And I happened to find it. And keep in mind, finding movies online back then, it was weird. I mean, there was no YouTube. So
Yeah.
I found it, liked it, and watched it a couple times. And then I emailed him. And I asked him about it, and he was like, he used back then, it was called a Canon XL1. It was before digital video cameras went to 24 frames a second on a prosumer level.
What
But
were
it,
they?
it was at 30 frames a second.
Ah,
And so it still had this kind of video look. But he told me, he goes, it doesn't matter how it looks, man. Just make sure it sounds good. Because the image quality, it's important, but there's always going to be more stuff, especially on a low budget level, on a no budget level. There's always going to be stuff that looks better. Just make sure it sounds good. And ever since then, I've screwed up a few times trying to do it myself, and I'm getting better at it. But those early films that I did were all silent movies, just set to music. And the later ones, when I started incorporating dialogue, I really like tried my best to make them sound good. Sometimes I failed, but then bringing you in, it was just like it's like a whole new thing. The movie, like the last one we did, the 3 rounds movie for the 24-hour festival this year. Like, I mean, I did the edit and I felt decent about it, but then after you put the music and everything on, it's like, oh shit, it looks like a movie now. Thank God. I was like, oh God, did we just ruin this thing? But then, you came in and saved the day. And so I think that the only thing, I genuinely believe this, I think the only thing that separates most movies at the film festival is sound quality. I think that the visuals are virtually, I mean, there's certain guys that know how to use it and gals that know how to use the camera in a slightly better way. But if their sound isn't good, who cares? The sound is the only thing that matters. I think when it comes to this level, if you want it to be technically good,
yeah.
I think that is, I mean, clearly you need to focus more attention than just sound, but I think that needs to be on the top of the priority list.
Tell me more about those silent films that you did, because I never knew you did like silent films like back in the day.
Yeah, yeah. Those we did the 24-hour festival back in 2007 and 2008 and 2009. These were, wait, did I say 10-hour festival?
I don't. You didn't specify a festival.
I apologize. Well, yeah, it was the 10-hour festivals. Back then, instead of doing it in 24 hours, you did it in 10, which is gangster. That's really gangster because that's getting the elements at 8 in the morning and turning it in at dinner time. I mean, it was ridiculous. But back then, I knew that I didn't have a good microphone, so I didn't really understand the rules of the competitions back then, really. So I just found this copyrighted song that I liked a lot, and I was like, well, let's use this song. It's some Portishead song, right? So that's what that was, man. Those first 3 movies, for sure, back in the 10-hour festival, were pretty much all just silent movies set to music. And all of a sudden the image starts looking a little better because you don't have that shitty onboard microphone sound, and it's amazing. Even if it's on some sort of subconscious level, it doesn't look good to you. But that's the difference. If you look at someone like Brennan Langley or the guys that Reply All, the old Jupiter kids and stuff, the reason that their movies look good is because, number one, they're using a nice camera. I mean, that's certainly part of it, and they're being very steady with their motion. But most importantly, it's being held together by a really tight sound design. And that,
Would you ever go back and do a sound? Interesting.
totally, that'd be rocking, man. Blowing shit up in silence. That would be sweet. But yeah, man. So the film festivals, what have you thought about participating in that? Have you enjoyed it?
I have. Again, I think there is more of a focus on the actual visual, because they never seem to. You seem to have more of an idea for sound than everybody else, but what comes across from they always seem to play it low. They don't really crank the sound. That's the only thing that I've noticed is they're not maximizing on that when they're showing these films. But I love the experience. It makes me wonder what goes through people's heads if they're like, "Oh, that is cool. What are they there, for what did they get out of this? Are they thinking, oh, that's a very cool visual, or it's a really cool shot, or that was cool use of lighting? It makes me wonder, like, how many people there are saying, oh, that's really cool sound. That little cue, that was nice. It makes me wonder that. Um, and I don't think many people are there that are saying that. And I think that's a shame. So that is that is why I think the involvement that we've got with these films is, I'm not saying it's game changing, but it's definitely a cut above the rest because it's focusing on something that no one else is really putting as much effort into. It's always seeming like the visual, or maybe the acting, or the story, or the shot.
Is there a is there a festival that you prefer over the others? Which ones have you done? We did the 7 day, right?
We've done 7 day and we have done 24. Um, I think I prefer the 24, completely honest, because I work better under stress and circumstance. If I know these parameters, I've got a wall that I'm forced up against, and that lets me know that's what I've got to fight up against. Lets me know the parameters, so I can crank out what I need to in this amount of time. And I mean, it was a learning experience, the last one, because Laurel and I, we've got ideas. This was the first time that she and have really collaborated with somebody towards a collective goal. So we had all these great ideas, but because we didn't have a visual or know the timing, there was a lot of unknowns. Because we didn't know that, it was hard to put it all together. So we would try a couple things, not really get anywhere. Some good ideas, and then we got a chance to come out here while you were still recording that scene in the garage with Vanya and Brandon and Kristen. Very tense scene towards the end of the film. And so while all that was going on, Laurel and I are whispering back and forth with each other. Oh, it's like this. It's like this. Oh yeah, let's do that. And they were like, what if we did something like Twin Peaks? We kind of met at Twin Peaks, as it were. So we decided to do something, a little creepy and ambient, a little jazzy, because she could play the piano and it had like a natural lilt to the music. So we kind of had an idea. So we started doing what ended up being the track called The Black Lodge, based on Twin Peaks. So we didn't time it to anything. We just did it. It's like, okay, here's this idea, let's build it. Because you had pretty much said, okay, there's like this this nightclub scene. It's kind of surreal and ethereal. It's like, okay, it's Twin Peaks. We'll do it that way.
Yeah.
So I just said, let's just go for it. Let's just do it. So I set this little brush drum kit loop through it, and we wanted it disjointed, and we just played it. Didn't time it to anything, and we just did it. Luckily, hours later, after we decided, or there wasn't anything else to do, we would not get a visual until hours later. And so we napped and came back to it. Luckily, it matched up for the most part. Mm-hmm. It went on a little bit longer, but we were able to edit and fade out. But that piece that was just, let's just do it, ended up working. And then she did this little piano piece that we called White Lodge. It was just her. It was the love stories, between Brandon and Crisis. Mm-hmm. And she did that. But that was definitely one of the most fun experiences that I had working on a film of yours, because it forced me to collaborate with somebody I normally would not have collaborated with
Hmm.
because I don't typically collaborate with anybody.
Right. And
And
so, yeah, man, working with Laurel, that's cool. She's rocking with you now with the foe.
I know this is her first band, and I want it to be a good, first experience for her. And everybody's just eager to please and um, make the music and songs sound as good as possible. And what excites me the most is the fact that we're able to do everything that I've done, all the different styles, because they have the talent. They can play these different styles of music. Laurel is able to give more character and emotion to these ballads that I had done and fill in the gaps, play the little, like the lead guitar that I would do. She's able to recreate that and just make it sound so much better. It's the missing pieces that
Sure.
I'd been looking for forever. So nowhere to go but up.
That's